Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to go through charting. So I did make a charting video a little while ago. This is an updated charting routine for you guys, as I've kind of changed the way that I chart over the past several months. So I kind of want to show you guys that. And I get a lot of DMs about how I set my levels of support and resistance, how I determine where I'm going to enter and exit a trade, and so on and so forth. And this all has to do with charting. This all has to do with applying your support and resistance levels in order to determine potential entry and exit points on the stock. If you don't have your support and resistance levels charted properly, it's really going to deter you as a day trader, because 90%, I think all of the strategies that you use as a day trader require you to know where the stock has levels of support and resistance and where it could potentially reject or reverse or bounce off of, so on and so forth. That being said, I'm going to go through a couple stocks with you guys, trade them from top to bottom, and kind of show you guys and talk you through what my overall charting routine is, and then what my day-to-day charting routine looks like, so you guys can kind of get an understanding of what I do on a day-to-day basis. That being said, I know I rambled a little bit. Let's go ahead and get started. Alright guys, so I just picked two stocks for you guys that I'm going to chart. The first one is going to be Facebook. I'm just going to go through my entire charting kind of technique and where I start and how I kind of chart the stock on a day-to-day basis versus if I've never charted it before. So if I've never charted the stock before, if I've never traded it before, what I'll do is I'll start on the 3-year weekly time frame and use the top-down approach. So what that means is you start from the highest time frame to get an overall broader view of what the stock has been doing, and then from there you work your way down into the intraday time frame. So that's how I'm going to work it for you guys here. So like I said, I don't do this every day if I trade the stock frequently. I only do this if I haven't traded the stock for a while, or I like to clean out my charts probably every 2 to 3 months, or when I feel like they're getting a little bit overwhelming. I'll go ahead and remove all of the resistance and support levels, and I'll rechart the stock. So this is usually how I do it. All right, so what I'll do when I get on the time frame that I'm looking at, I'll usually chart the high and the low of the time frame. So I don't see Facebook touching 123 anytime soon, but I'm going to chart it anyways. And then I'm going to chart the high of the time frame, which is 384.33, and I believe that is the all-time high on Facebook as well. So we'll go ahead and chart that. Oh my god. Okay. Then what I like to do is I like to work from the left side of the chart to the right side of the chart, because this is the historical data versus what it's currently doing. So what I'll do is I'll start from the left side and start from that low and kind of trace the low into where it finds resistance. So what I mean by that is once the stock creates a level of support here at 123.02, it then bounces off of that support and goes into an uptrend. After it goes into an uptrend, where does that trend end? So we can see here the stock comes up right around here. It does create a level of resistance at around 173. I'm going to chart it up. Okay. And then once it breaks that level of resistance, it then creates another level of resistance at around 198. I like to chart whole level numbers, especially if they're on higher time frames. I'll usually round up to the nearest whole number, because you want to see the smaller time frame or the more in between levels on smaller time frames, whereas the whole psychological levels you'll see on larger time frames. Okay, so and you can see that once the stock creates this uptrend here, it pulls back from that uptrend, and where does it touch back to? It touches back to that 173 level. So if you are charting your stocks properly, it should continuously hit back and forth in between your levels of support and resistance. Now it does slightly break out of 198 here and creates another level of resistance at 224. So I'm going to chart that. It's actually around 224.50, so I'll chart it at 224.50. Creates a level of resistance here. So once it creates that level of resistance and breaks out of the previous resistance, that previous resistance now should become a support for the stock. And you can see here that once it breaks out of 198 and pulls back, where does it pull back to? That 198 level. It will now become a level of support on Facebook. After it rejects 224.50, we can see that Facebook then reversed into a downtrend. Okay, so once it reversed into a downtrend, where does that trend end? Where does it find support? So you can see here reverse down, and then right around here it finds support at around 148. I try to get the level as close as possible. Sometimes it's just doesn't make it that close, but you can round it up if you want to. If you right click here, oh, this is how you like add levels or edit your levels. If you right click on it and you click edit properties, you can then change the color of it, you can change the style, you can change the value that it's at. So if you want to round it to a whole number, left extension, right extension, and you can put a name on it, whatever you want to do, and just press OK. Make sure you save it as a default. So if you right click edit properties, right here it says save as default. So then as you continuously chart, it'll make sure your price levels are charted that way. So the reason that I charted the bottom of these candles and not the bottom of the wick is if I see one random candle with a large wick, I will chart the top of that wick because it does tend to fill the wick up or down. However, if I see a combination of candles in around the same general area, I won't chart the bottom of the wicks. I'll chart where the general area of those candles bodies are, where they closed or where they opened. So you can see the general area here of these two candles, oops, is right around that 148 level. This wicked a little bit lower than 148, around to 141, and then this one wicked lower to around 137. So I'm going to chart the body of these two candles because you can see that both bodies of the bodies of both of these candles closed pretty, this one opened pretty closely to where this had opened. So I'm sorry, this had closed. So that's usually how I like to chart wicks, or if I see wicks, anything like that. And you guys will see as I continue to go on. So once it creates this level of support at 148, it bounces off of 148 and starts a new trend, starts an uptrend. And you can see starts an uptrend, breaks out of the previous all-time high resistance, which was 224.50, and creates a new level of resistance right around I'm going to do 242 on this one. Okay. And you can see here it's a general area, and when it does pull back, it pulls back to that 224.50 and consolidates around that 224.50. Now it does slightly, this candle does break below 224.50 and creates a slight level at around 207. So I'm going to chart that as well. Okay. Once it bounces here, it comes back up, breaks out of that 242 here, and creates a new level of resistance. Once this trend ends, is right around 305. Okay. And like I said, you can edit this and bring it closer to, because sometimes it's hard to get your mouse. Okay. 305. Once it creates that 305 resistance, it comes back down. Where does it touch to? The 242. That was our previous resistance. That is now support. Stock kind of ranges in between 305 and 242. It does have a slight level of resistance right below 305 here. You can see that it kind of consolidated here, but I'd like to see this on a smaller time frame. I do see it's around 293, 294, but I would like to see it on a smaller time frame. So I'm not going to chart it yet. I'll see if I can chart it on the 1 year daily time frame, because it is a little bit tight here. So I want to see this more in depth on a smaller time frame. So I'm going to leave this for now. And you can see it's clearly ranging in between these two levels of resistance and support until it breaks out of that 305 and continues on a new uptrend up to 384.33, comes back down. When it does come back down, creates a downtrend here, and you can see it created a level of support at around 317. So I'll chart that 317 level. Okay. And if you extend this 317 level to the left, extend to the left, you can see that it was slight resistance here and slight support here, slight resistance here as well. So if you're charting your stocks properly, like I said, it should continuously hit those levels of support and resistance as they're breaking out. There's also some congestion here as it does make its uptrend. However, I'd like to see this on a smaller time frame, so I'm not going to touch it yet. Okay, so this is your weekly time frame all charted. We're going to move down to the 1 year daily time frame. Okay, again, on the 1 year daily time frame, you want to chart the low of the time frame first, so 244.61, and the high is the same high. And I'm actually going to remove All right, so we charted the low, we charted the high of the time frame. Start from the left-hand side. There's some congestion here, some consolidation here, and we can see that there is a slight level of support here at around, like I said, I'm going to chart the body of these two candles. I'm going to think it's around 261, I like. Okay, because you can see that these candles right here, the bodies are closer to 261 versus the wicks, which is why I charted that body instead of charting the wick. Okay, there is probably a level at the bottom of that wick, but we want to see that on a smaller time frame. And then on the up hand side, you want to chart the resistance of that range. So the resistance starts around 285.50. Okay, and you can see it ranged in between 261 and 285.50 until right around here it broke out of 285.50 and created a new level of resistance at, I'm going to chart it at 295. And the reason I'm going to chart it at 295 is I'll show you when I move my cursor over in just a second. Is as I move my cursor over, these bodies of these candles also were right below around 295. I'm sure there's a level, like I said, at the top of this wick, but I want to see it on a smaller time frame. For now, that 295 is good. Okay. Other than that, all of this little congestion here, I'm not going to chart on a higher time frame. I'm not going to over chart. I'm going to leave this and see it on a smaller time frame because obviously Facebook doesn't move in like $10, $20 increments. It does move in 50 cents to $1 increments. So you will see as you continuously move down your chart how much closer those levels of resistance and support get to each other. All right. So breaks back down below that 261, creates support at 244.61, comes back up, touches our previous level of resistance that we charted back here. 285.50, comes back down, and then right here it creates a level of support because it's not able to get all the way to 244.61, and it creates a level of support at 255. Okay. Once it creates a level of support at 255, bounces off of there. Where does the trend end? Right around 267. I'm going to actually chart this at the top of this wick, and I'll show you why. So 278. And I'm going to show you why, because if I extend this to the left, look at where all of these bodies of these candles, and then right here, that little congestion that we saw, the 278 makes sense to all of these candles as well. So you do want to pay attention to what happened before as you're charting. Okay, so that's why I charted the top of this wick, and you can see that it held support once it broke out of 278. Okay, broke out, held this next resistance that we had previously charted, pulled back, held the support that it broke, that held the resistance that it broke, that now becomes support on the stock, bounces to our next level of resistance that we had charted on the 3-year weekly time frame, comes back down, holds support 294 or 295, comes back up. Right here it creates a new level of resistance at I'm going to chart this at 332. Okay. And then once it rejects 332, comes back down, tests that 294, does create a slight level of support right above 294. So I'm going to actually chart this at 300 because I know 300 is a psychological level on Facebook. So psychological levels are going to be your whole dollar levels. Usually you'll tend to see that's where you'll see a lot of buyers or sellers stepping in. Support and resistance zones are going to be really strong at those levels. So it holds 300, bounces back up, holds this resistance, pulls back, holds this support, and then it finally breaks out of resistance. Where does it go back to? That 332 resistance that we charted back here. Pulls back. Once it pulls back, it does create a level of support at around 324.50, it looks like. I'm going to actually chart this at 325. Okay? Because it makes sense to these candles, this candle body touched. And then if I look over here, getting ahead of it a little bit, you can see that again, that 325 held pretty well on these candles as well. Okay, breaks out of that 332, creates a new range right here, a resistance at around 338, Oops, let me edit this one because I want it to get more cleaner. So 338, okay. It does have a level of support because it rejects 338. It's not able to touch 325. So it creates a level of support right around here at 329, it looks like. I'm going to chart it at 329. And if I extend this to the left, you can see holds 329 really well right here. Breaks up above 338, creates a new level of resistance. And I'm going to actually chart the top of this wick at 358 because this wick wicked up there as well. Okay. And then right around here, you can see once it did break out of 338 here, it did create a slight level of resistance at 345. So I'm going to chart that. And pulls back. This is fine. I'm going to see this is probably on a smaller time frame better. But then it breaks out of 345, creates that 358, and now it's ranging between 358 and 345 until it finally breaks below 345. Where does the trend end? I'm going to chart the bottom of this wick because look at where this wicked. Okay? So you chart what makes sense. You can see that both of these wicked around the same area, so I'm going to chart the bottom of the wicks, which is around 334. I'm going to do this at 334.50. So charted that 334.50 here, bounces off of 344.50. It does have a slight gap up here, so I'm going to chart the pre-gap level here at 351.50, it looks like. Okay, and you can see that that pre-gap level then held as support here and held as support here. Okay, gaps up above that 358 resistance, creates a new level of resistance. I'm actually going to chart the bottoms of these candles because it makes more sense here. So 372.50, I'm going to round this to. Okay. And if I roll my cursor over, held support here, bodies of these candles too. I'm going to chart the top of this wick here at 377.50 because it is a random wick, and I do see it filling that wick or holding that top of that wick as support. Okay, comes back down, rejects 377.50, comes back down, holds our support at 351.50, comes back up. Where does the trend end? Right around here. You can see a level of resistance here, and I'm going to actually chart the body of this candle at 367. And I'm going to extend this to the left, and you can see this wick down there as well. I'm sure there's a slight level at the top of this wick and this wick, so I'm going to chart that too. Which is actually I'm going to wait on that. Might be able to see it better on a smaller time frame. But you can see all of the support and resistance levels are holding, run your cursor down, holding. Good. Everything over here looks fine. I want to see this on a smaller time frame because it's a little gappy here. I do see a level right here at 362. I'm going to wait for a smaller time frame on this. And this as well, it's a little bit gappy, so I don't want to chart anything until I see it on a smaller time frame. The rest of it looks like it's holding pretty well, so your 1 year daily is done. Now moving our way down to the 4 hour time frame. 4 hour time frame can get a little bit foggy because it is kind of congested, so I don't like to chart too much on the 4 hour time frame. I just chart the high and the low. So 251.75 here. And then the 384.33 is the same high. I'm going to leave these levels. Actually, I think I should chart them with you guys. So I'm going to zoom in here. And then right around here at that 251.75, that is a support. And then you can see it's a slight range here. You can see there's a lot of levels of resistance, or this level of resistance that it's been holding at 367.50, it looks like. So I'm going to chart that there. Edit 50. And you can see every time, comes up, wicks, 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 touches that level multiple times until it finally breaks out, holds these levels, holds support, and then right here, it creates this resistance that we don't have charted yet at 2. Actually, look, we had it charted at 300, extend to the left, perfect, okay? So as you're moving down your charts, you shouldn't have to add too many more levels if you're charting properly. So comes down, holds support. This one is fine here. I'm sure there's a level here at 288, so I'm going to chart that because it does have some support here until it breaks out of that 295. And then once it breaks out of 295, where does the trend end? Right around here at around 311. So I'm going to chart that. Okay, hold support at 305, 317, comes down, hold support. There's some congestion here. I'm going to leave that for now. Okay, scrolling over, hold support, and then right here breaks out of 311, goes on to a strong trend up. We have all of this charted until right here. I do see some wick here at around 333. Actually, I'm going to look at that on a smaller time frame because I actually like the 334 level where this is the top of this wick. So I'm going to leave this one and just chart the top of this wick right here. Comes back down. I'm going to chart the bottom of this wick here. I can see a little bit more clearly at the 321.50 level. Okay. You can see here, let me just zoom in. Bottom of that wick, held here, resistance here, kind of held here, breaks out here and creates a level of support. I'm going to chart this bottom of this wick at 313. And I charted the bottom of the wick because if you look over, wick down here as well. Hold support, breaks out, comes back down, hold support. So hold support here, breaks back, holds resistance. The rest of this looks fine. It's a little, I don't like charting the 4 hour too much because it gets a little overwhelming to chart sometimes. So these levels look like they're holding pretty well. And then right here, if I zoom in, you can see some resistance here at 363. I'm actually going to chart this at 362. Okay, 362. Holds over here, support right here. So I like the 362. It does also have another level at this wick, which is 360. I like 365 because 365 is a psych level, and if I extend this to the left, these wick down to 365. This wicked up. This held 365, 365, support, support. And 365 is a psych level, so it just makes sense. Around here, we do see a level of, so a little bit of consolidation, so we have to have a clear level of support, which is right here, and then our level of resistance, which is 375. Perfect. And let's zoom back out. And then over here, again, we have our resistance charted pretty well on the top hand side. I do see a level, if I zoom in here, of resistance at 382 right here. Resistance, resistance, resistance at the bodies of these candles, which is good. And the rest of that chart looks fine. Zoom out. Looks good. Right here, we do have a slight level of resistance in this consolidation, 354.50. Extend to the left. Looks good there. And then right here, a level of support at 342. You can see here, support, support, consolidation here, resistance. Okay. I'm going to get out of this 4 hour time frame. We're going to go down to the 1 hour time frame. All right, 1 hour time frame, chart the high, 359.86. I would actually just chart this at 360. I'm not going to lie, because I wouldn't take the 359.86 level. I would take, if I were to wait for a breakout to the upside, I would take the 360 level. And the 317 is already charted. Like I said, I wouldn't take 317.37. I would take 317. I would take the nearest whole dollar level when it creates a level like this. That's just how I usually like to trade. All right, so on this time frame, you can see it started a downtrend, held support here. It does have a slight level here at 340 where it wicks down to, and the 340 is a psych level as well, so I'm going to chart that. Comes back up, creates a level of resistance here at 349. Right here, creates another level of support at 347. If I extend this to the left, clear levels, clear levels. This all looks fine to me. Comes down, creates a huge downtrend here. We do have a level here at 323, it looks like, support. And if we move our cursor over, it holds that 323 as support multiple times. And then comes back up, rejects right here, comes down, creates another level of support at 327. So we're going to chart that, support, 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 okay, until it finally breaks out, creates a level of resistance right here at around 330. So we're going to extend this to the left. 330 resistance, resistance, support. Breaks out of that 330 into an uptrend and holding our levels pretty well on that uptrend. Okay, rest of this looks fine. Moving from the 1 hour down to the 30 minute. Okay, we have the low charted at 317. I'm going to chart this high at 344. Okay. And then from the left-hand side, we have our support. We have our resistance, comes back down into support. There is a level here as it wicks down at 330. I'm going to chart this at 333, and I'll show you why in a second. Because if we chart at 333, you can see that there is some resistance here, holds it as support here. It does slightly wick down to 333 on these two candles as well. So I do like the 333 level. I'm sorry, what level was that? Yeah, 333 level, better than me charting like a $half level or anything like that, because like I said, whole number levels are going to hold as support and resistance a lot more heavily. All right, so I think there's, I don't like that. So stock comes down here, good, support, 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 resistance, 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 support, resistance. Have a slight level of support here at 328, so I'm going to chart that. Extend it to the left. Yeah, I like this 328 here. You can see the bodies of these candles held 328, and it was a pre-market low. The gray shaded area is pre-market. The dark black area is during live market hours. Okay, comes down, holds support, resistance, support. Strong uptrend here. Where does the trend end? Right here at 336. Extend this to the left, holds it as resistance previously, resistance again, and then right here we have another level at I'm going to chart this at 339, and I'm going to show you why. This wick to 339, and I didn't chart these two candles here. I charted the bottom of this support here at 339. So that's why I didn't chart this candle, these two pre-market candles here. Instead, I charted the 339 because you can see this wick to 339. This kind of held the support, and this held that support as well. And 339 is a whole dollar level. The rest of it looks pretty fine. We can see breaks out of 336, creates a slight support here at 337. Facebook does move in $1 to 50-cent increments, so you're kind of noticing that every dollar level is a little bit of a level here on Facebook. And then after that, 342 to 344 looks like it's pretty clean. And yeah, the 1 hour chart is done. Now working my way down, we're going to go to the 15-minute. Now, Once I finish the, on a day-to-day basis, like I said, so I usually do this whole charting technique if I've never charted the stock or if I'm cleaning out all my levels and I'm recharting the stock. On a day-to-day basis, when I'm looking at if I'm adding the stock to my watch list and I need to chart new levels or pre-market levels, or if it's made a move after hours, I need to chart new levels, I always start on the 15-minute time frame and work my way down. So I don't chart the higher time frame levels because I already have those levels charted. Unless the stock makes a huge significant move, usually you'll see most of the highs and lows on the 15-minute time frame. If it does make a big move, you obviously have to look at higher time frames to see where the highs and lows are, or where the stock has resistance or support, or if it's our all-time highs or all-time lows. You could have to potentially look at higher time frames on a day-to-day basis. However, for the most part, I'm looking at the 15-minute time frame and the 5-minute time frame to chart the stock on a day-to-day basis. For example, if I want to watch Facebook tomorrow and Facebook's on my watch list, I'm going to look at Facebook first on the 15-minute and see if there's any levels that I have to chart, and then move on to the 5-minute and potentially 1-minute levels. Okay. So on the 15-minute time frame, we can see the low here at 322.50. So I'm going to chart that on Facebook. And then the high we already have charted. So from the left-hand side, resistance, support. It does look like it has slight support here at 324 on Facebook. So I'm going to chart that. You can see some congestion at 324. Breaks out. Resistance looks good. It does have a slight wick up here to around 331. I'm going to chart this because I like these two wicks as well. And it did hold that 331 as support here. Comes down, support, resistance, good, looks good, uptrend, resistance, support. And then right around here, I see a slight wick that I don't have charted at 341. I'm going to chart that. Some congestion, but other than that, everything looks good here. Working down to the 5-minute, we have our low charted. Like I said, as you continuously move down, you shouldn't have to add more levels to the charts. It should be enough for you. So support, this wick support. All of this looks good to me for now. Doesn't look like I'm missing any levels. Really, I do see something right here at around 339.50. Yeah, I like the 339.50 here as support. You can see touched once, twice, 3 times, so I do consider that strong level there. Usually what I consider a strong level, especially on the intraday time frames, is a 2-touch intraday level. So I don't usually chart the 1 minute. So once I get to the 5-minute, I'm pretty much done. On the 1 minute, if I watch it on a day-to-day basis, usually on the 1 minute, what I'm charting is either pre-market highs, pre-market lows, or if I see a 2-touch resistance or support. So for example, here on Facebook, if I didn't have this 342 level charted, which I already do, and Facebook, let's say, touched once, twice at that 342 level, I now consider it, even though it's on the 1 minute, I consider it a 2-touch intraday level, which if I were to scalp Facebook, I would watch it above 342 for an intraday scalp on the 1 minute time frame to my next level of resistance. Okay, so on the 1 minute, I'm not usually charting unless the stock is in consolidation on the 1 minute time frame, and then I see it has touched. Usually on the 1 minute, if it's touched twice, it's touched on the 5 minute twice during that day. I consider that an intraday level of resistance or support. 2-touch intraday level of resistance support. You can then use that for a potential breakout move, breakout scalp, either above the resistance or below that support level. Alright guys, so that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, don't forget to comment down below. If you liked the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!